Welcome, everyone, to Minions of the Zoo. I'm your keeper, Skep Tock. With me, I have minions Prospero,
Hello.
Jenna,
Hey.
the Harry Channel,
Good evening.
and Sora Luna.
Hello.
Lovely to have you good folks with me this evening. It's been a strange week. I have a few comments to make before we get the discussion started. First of all, for those of you who have asked after me, given my slight bit of sickness after I got my flu shot or COVID shot on Tuesday, last Tuesday. I'm doing much better and am back up to full speed. Actually, went out and worked in the yard today. Walked 4 miles, came home, worked out in the yard. So I'm pretty much back up to normal strength, and it felt pretty good. So thanks for asking. And I had the Pfizer shot, so the first shot of the Pfizer shot, which, as I understand, that's not the bad shot with the Pfizer shot. The bad shot with the Pfizer shot is the second shot. So, yay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When do you get the second shot?
Oh, in a week or 2 weeks, I think, 2 weeks from today.
Oh, lucky you. I get mine in 4 months, 16 weeks.
That's the great government health care that, of course, I'm on government health care too. So,
which is anti what Pfizer recommends. But that's okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cree's getting his first tomorrow, and then they've scheduled his second for April 14th. Now, Moderna seems really thick on the ground around here, but I don't know which one he's going to get. Because
Yeah,
I know it's not the J&J because it's a 2-shot schedule.
Yeah, the VA considers Moderna and Pfizer interchangeable, and you're likely to get either one. But once you've started on one, you get the second of that series. But different VA hospitals are giving out different shots, and you have no choice. I mean, it's just fuck off. So at any rate, that's a little bit of an update on that. These are interesting times. In other news, I had a couple of things. Yeah, okay. I came across an interesting statistic today. Actually, a couple of them. First of all, 1/3 of all El Salvadorans, 1/3 of all El Salvadorans who exist, 1/3 of them live in the United States. Most of them are illegals.
No.
I want you to just take that in for a minute.
Good. Okay.
That's a lot of illegal El Salvadorans, and it's an interesting statistic because essentially the MO is get the hell out of El Salvador, which is infested with MS-13 and all the nonsense that goes on with that, and get up to the Estados Unidos and jump over the border, and the Biden administration will welcome you with open arms. So this led me down a little rabbit hole. And I started to look around to see, well, why are they coming up here? Well, they're trying to get away from MS-13. That's what everybody says. And then so as I was looking around, I started looking at murder rates in the United States to see how much better we were than El Salvador. And I came across another murder statistic that really blew me away. We have one city in America that is substantially worse than all cities in murders per 100,000 people. In fact, if you took a small stadium and put 2,000 people in it, one of those people will be killed in the city that year. Within 365 days, one of those people statistically will die from murder in that city. What city do you think this was? I was shocked. It's not a huge city. What city do you think it is?
I know
Olympia, Washington.
I know that you know, Prospero. You can do the reveal in a minute.
Um, Bermuda.
No, it's not Bermuda. It's not
I have
Olympia,
no
Washington. And it's not No Clue.
Yeah.
Prospero, which one is it?
Baltimore.
Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland?
That
is a
doesn't
big city, though,
surprise
isn't it?
me.
It not only it has twice the murder rate of El Salvador.
What's in Baltimore? Like
Rats.
what's
Gangs and no police.
Gangs.
Ah.
Gangs,
And
gangs and
crabs.
rats and gangs and corruption.
Elijah.
Oh, bone deep corrupt public officials. Just a shithole.
Elijah.
Can you guess which party has run that city for a very long time?
Democrats have run it since forever. They're
They've
absolutely
run it just I mean, unopposed.
Yep.
Basically, it's like all Democrat city council, and you can see what the fruits of their work has been. Rats
Seems to
everywhere
me,
and crime.
those people should maybe try voting something different. Maybe they won't have as much crime.
Oh no,
No.
they can't. That would make them traitors or of some
They'd
kind.
be cool.
Yeah, you started to mention Jenna Elijah Cummings.
Thank you. That's
as a
what I was.
representative from Baltimore.
Yeah, I'd rather die than quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he passed away, but
No,
when
just
Trump called this city a shithole, I remember everyone's like, "Oh, you can't do that," and the Baltimoreans were like, after they got over themselves, "Wait, you want to come in here and fix it up and make it not so rat infested, murdered, drugs, shoot ups, things like that?" Okay, but every time they get a little boost up, the Dems bulldoze them.
yeah, they do. And it also doesn't help that they're on the iron pipeline. I mean, 95 runs right through Baltimore. It's a shame because once upon a time,
Remember,
It's a
it's
nice
a tragedy. It's a tragedy. It's not. There's no corruption in Baltimore.
yeah,
Now, this is the interesting thing. They talked about a big story that ran in the New York Times Magazine on the city struggles. And they said the story with the headline, "The Tragedy of Baltimore," laid out how the city had come apart in the years since the riots over the death of Freddie Gray, a black guy who died in police custody back in 2015. In the 6 months since the story had run, things had gotten even worse. The murder rate, which shot up after Gray's death, had climbed even higher. Mayor Catherine Pugh had resigned amid a criminal investigation into the sale of tens of thousands of her Healthy Holly children's books to companies hoping to do business with the city. She was holding them up. She was extorting them. She was the second Baltimore mayor to resign amid scandal in less than a decade. In July, President Donald Trump had turned his attention to the city, slandering the district of Democratic Representative Elijah Cummings, a beloved Baltimore native who died months later, as a disgusting rat and rodent-infested mess where no human being would want to live. This is what Trump said about the beloved Elijah Cummings rat-infested tenement slum city. So outraged, Baltimoreans defended the city, but the insult recalled the version of the city depicted on The Wire, the acclaimed HBO show, its violent drug crumbling row houses, and struggling schools and incurably petty politics. And it's interesting where they place the blame for the city's problem. It was on the politicians, and they basically said the big campaign contributors, some of whom had written checks to Mayor Pugh's mayoral campaign, why do you accept poor leadership? They were asking. And why do you just keep putting the same kinds of people in office? I think that's a fair question. What were you going to say, Prospero?
Oh, I was going to say, remember the reporter who went to do the story after Trump called it a rat-infested shithole,
Yeah.
and a rat of auditioning for Willard 2 made his appearance, scuttled out of the trash, and ran right down the street. That the cameraman caught the whole thing.
I know.
And this
Brilliant.
is after the hue and cry of "it's not rat infested," and so a bunch of Republican young folk went into one of the neighborhoods and literally cleaned the streets, took loads of trash out, loads upon loads of trash that geared up in hazmat suits, basically, and went in there and cleaned the area up. And everybody was like, well, yeah, look at those do-gooders.
Yeah. And
Wow.
and the
Yeah,
thing
they
is,
were harassed over doing this.
the problem is that the places where people have gone and tried to help them just get trashed again.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And there are places in Baltimore, there are parts of the city in Baltimore where there's no trash pickup. You know why? Because the garbage trucks are afraid to go there.
Yeah, they won't go in them. I mean, when the riots kicked off in Sandtown, I'm surprised. I'm surprised fire department showed up. I'm actually surprised the fire department showed up. I mean, of course, they came under fire. They had their hoses punctured, that kind of stuff. But how anyone can live in that war zone? I mean, they give Chicago hell for being Chirac. Baltimore has a worse murder rate than El fucking Salvador.
Oh, since the early 1990s, murder rates have fallen dramatically in, listen to this list: New York, Los Angeles, Boston, Washington, Chicago, Atlanta, Detroit, Dallas. But not in Baltimore. After years of struggle, the murder rate has soared in the last few years, and last year hit an all-time high.
Oh, yeah, well, 2020 was a bad year. Once the ACAB crowd started barking,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of cities saw spikes in their murder rates. And it was because the police were having their hands tied, or they were getting their funding cut, or they were being told to send social workers. Yeah, I'd like to send a lot of freshly scrubbed, bright-eyed social workers into some neighborhoods, but you wouldn't ever see them again. They'd never find the bodies.
Mm-hmm. It's absolutely right. It's
Maybe a foot would show up somewhere in the Chesapeake.
You're being too nice. I think the end of the big toe.
Could be.
Not even a full foot.
Who knows? I mean,
Not even a full toe.
I'll tell you what a shithole Baltimore is. And I mean, they are a shithole. Virginia spent millions of dollars on their share of cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
For what? They're still basically dumping fucking raw sewage in Baltimore. I mean, they just have no control over that place. If those riots after Freddie Gray had burned the entire city to the ground, it would have done Baltimoreans a favor.
The guy, Brandon Scott, was the city council president. Excuse me. I've seen him interviewed a couple of times. He's a little bit of a breath of fresh air. He's detached from the Democrat political machine. In fact, he had to run against Sheila Dixon for the nomination to become the mayor. Sheila Dixon was the former mayor who resigned when she was convicted in a scandal 10 years ago. She almost became mayor again. I shit you not.
Marion Barry became mayor again, so
Oh, yeah.
anything's possible. When you're
I'm
just
sorry.
voting based on the color of skin. Sorry?
Mary Berry?
Marion Barry.
Marion Barry, not Mary Berry, the nice English lady who talks about soggy bottoms of cakes and things, but Marion Barry, who was he was caught on camera smoking crack
With a prostitute.
yeah. Sorry, I forgot
Well-
about the lesser of his indiscretions.
Yeah,
And,
just like to put the cherry on the sundae.
Yeah, it was one of those things. But I was curious after as Skep was talking to see what reasons people who are not on the right give for Baltimore's problems, and it seems like they use passive voice an awful lot. It's like Baltimore's just lying there, just getting kicked while it's down. Look at poor Baltimore. Look at all the things that just happened to Baltimore. Baltimore's in such bad shape. What could Baltimore do except just sit there and take the beating that life is handing it? It's like, you do realize you have agency in all this, right?
Yeah,
You could choose to make your town not suck.
But
What-
Baltimore is what Washington D.C. has aspired to for a good while, which is not
here's
not
what
heartening.
here's what a lot of the people say. They say stuff like it's not fixable. It's where one guy who was actually a businessman in town says we're a post-industrial city. The jobs have left. Poverty's moved in. We can't do about it. We can't do anything about it. It's just hopeless.
They're in the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, all right?
Hmm?
There is beautiful land there. They had a lovely aquarium. They had a beautiful inner harbor.
You know what their problem is? They are on the line where unions have made such significant inroads that it's hard to get a job working on the docks because that's all union labor. I know you know Prospero. That's all unionized. And what happens when a trade becomes unionized is, yes, the people inside the union get the protections that are afforded by the union, and sometimes those benefits and protections are pretty good. The problem is that because it is cartel behavior or inefficient market behavior, it's an artificial pressure. It's not a pressure on the cost of labor that is rational, is economically rational,
Right.
because it's a group of people saying, no, we're going to get together and extort a price, from management, and we will refuse to work, and we will threaten their business, essentially cause it to tear itself to pieces as it goes bankrupt because it can't do its work. And when they do that and get together in what I believe is essentially a criminal aspect, they
drive
away. They drive away. They drive their own salaries up or wages up, but they drive away jobs.
Yeah,
And they
do.
keep people out. That's what union cards do. That's what certifications do too. By the way, licensing and stuff, it keeps people out of the business.
Well, I mean, the thing with Baltimore is that it has this wonderful natural harbor, and it should be a thriving port city. It was for a long period of time. But ask yourself this: if you're shipping goods, do you want to deal with the extortionate rates that you're going to pay to have your goods offloaded in Baltimore, or are you going to offload them in Norfolk in a right-to-work state? Are you going to, why bother?
Well, you'll have a 20% less costly offload
Right.
every time your ship comes in.
And you don't have to sail another 100+ miles up the Chesapeake Bay with its variable weather and its shoals and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to take.
Well, you don't have to pay a pilot too, by the way.
Right. You're not going to take the risk.
Fucking expensive.
You're not going to have that kind of problem. I mean, you're going to have to pay a pilot if you're coming into the Elizabeth River or something like that, but it's a shorter transit in and out of the mouth of the Hampton roads than it is to chug up to Baltimore. And Baltimore's priced themselves out. Somebody can slide up the coast. They can go to Wilmington. They can go to Philadelphia.
Sure. There are a lot of
They can go to New York, where there is so much business that they haven't been able
so
to
much
extort
purity
it.
there.
They haven't been able to extort it out of business. So and when
Not for lack of trying, by the way.
and Norfolk is also uniquely positioned on two, with access to two major interstates, one east-west corridor, and that takes you to a north-south corridor. So as far as moving goods by transit, once removed from ship.
So we see what one of the problems with Baltimore is that people are finding alternatives to Baltimore, and so Baltimore becomes like the aunt you send up to the attic, and you just put food up there, and she gets nastier and stinkier and crazier year by year, and the Baltimore is now that nasty, stinking, crazy aunt in the attic now we've got to figure out what to do with her.
And they need to do something with her because she's too close to D.C.
Yeah.
She's too close to Philadelphia. That shit will spread.
Yeah.
Philly's already a shithole.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say Philadelphia
But it's not
is
as
lost.
bad of a shithole as Baltimore, which is
No.
actually saying something. Because it used to be, 30 years ago, if somebody said Baltimore or Philadelphia, you'd say, Baltimore.
Yeah. And, you know, I hear the arguments for using a tactical nuclear weapon to do sudden problem solving in Baltimore and, you know, create a different kind of harbor. But, you know, I wonder what it would take to save the place. And it's not going to be saved with the Republican mayor.
Hunger Games. I'm
Yeah.
serious. You basically need to wall the fucking place off and let business take care of business. It is. I really don't think. I mean, unless you want to
It's part of America. We can't wall it off.
incarcerate
Yeah.
The capital
90% of the citizenry.
Turn Baltimore into a jail.
That would be actually not a bad idea.
Build the wall.
Yeah, I mean it's
It's a mess. The place is in absolute danger.
Detroit
to
is better
live
off
in.
than Baltimore. Detroit has more hope than Baltimore, and Detroit is in bad straits. But you can make an argument that you have opportunities where you could rebuild.
Yeah.
But as long as it is a union shop locked in like that, and Annapolis is corrupt as fuck too, so yeah, that doesn't help.
About 2 years ago, I actually listen to me, DM'd a YouTuber who actually used to follow me on Twitter. We used to occasionally talk once in a while. You may know who she is. I call her she. Her name is ContraPoints.
Yeah.
And she lives in Baltimore
Oh.
and talked about taking her life in her hands to go out and buy, you know, a case of malt liquor, which she really drinks a lot of. But it's an absolute nightmare and has been a nightmare for a long time. There doesn't seem to be any civic will to address the problem broadly, and it's like parts of America are just starting to rot. I see this rot that's happening on the West Coast. See parts of San Francisco and Los Angeles that look like third world shithole nations. Mm-hmm. And now we have the same thing happening in Baltimore. And you can find the same thing happening in parts of New York and Philadelphia too. There are parts of Brooklyn that are absolute shitholes. They are complete.
Bed-Stuy is
Bed-Stuy and all that area up there. It is all the stuff that's kind of borders with the Long Island part of Long Island is a mess. It's a complete mess.
Jamaica was a junkie.
Yeah, Jamaica, all those little areas. That's what I'm talking about.
All the way back to the 70s. I mean,
the eastern part of Brooklyn is a dangerous place to.
And it's amazing because it borders. I mean, it's like 2 stops on the railway from hell to high water. I mean, it's really bizarre because you go from absolute despair to hello money.
Oh yeah, suddenly you're in the Hamptons.
Well, not that.
If
I
you're
don't-
if you're
not that
writing that,
extreme, not that extreme, but I'm saying it's not that far from Jamaica to Oak Beach.
yeah.
Just saying.
Well,
You
that's
know.
that's if you're going down to the beach, but I mean, you literally ride the Long Island Railway
All the way out to the Hamptons.
all the way up to the Hamptons, and it's not that far. I mean, Long Island is kind of a long island. I found that out
No,
one time.
Westbury. I mean, look at a place like Westbury, and then count the stops to Jamaica.
Yeah,
You know, it's just
yeah.
it's not that much. And I mean, there are parts of Brooklyn that are really.
Then
really
20-minute drive, you're in Stony Brook.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So anyway,
It's a very bizarre juxtaposition. The it isn't just. I mean, there are a lot of things.
oh, what do you think about the resistance in Baltimore to gentrification? To companies and people who want to come in and make your place beautiful and have people with money come in and make it not be a shithole.
It's racist.
Clearly.
Clearly.
That's what they say. How is it racist?
I had a stupid thought though, just really
Because
quickly.
2 and 2 equals 5.
Wouldn't Talking Heads' Fear of Music be the perfect soundtrack for Baltimore?
Yeah, absolutely.
just play like Life During Wartime on a
Life
loop,
during
or
wartime.
go back to Talking Heads 77 and
burn
get
it down
Psycho
the house.
Killer.
Yeah, burning down the house. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Burning
Anyway.
down the city.
This anti-gentrification thing has always puzzled me because you had, okay, this is going to be very, very harsh. You had your chance. It's getting worse. Don't you want to elevate where you live to a point where it's safe to have kids and families in the neighborhood? But that's
But they can't afford it. That's what they
Exactly.
always say. They
Also,
can't.
You're right.
but then, like, where are we going to go?
Yeah.
And then I can't answer that, and that's a fair question. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Oh,
you have to
but-
have enterprise zones before you can bring in enterprise to employ the people, and that causes a time lapse where
Mhm.
people don't have the cash to live where they used to live. They get gentrified out of their own neighborhoods.
Hmm.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jenna?
well, I was going to say it's a vicious circle where it's just the dog chasing the tail. It's never going to move
No.
forward or catch its tail because it so I'm going to go with held down, but not that people are holding them down. There are things outside of their control, but mostly they
They're
I
holding
have
themselves
met
down.
plenty of people who have joined the military or what have you to get themselves out of the shitholes.
Mhm.
And as for trying to make it a lovely place to live, no, people don't have respect for other people's property or their own property anymore. They have no problem breaking windows, stealing stuff, destroying taking down street signs.
There's no ethic that's built up in them that no pride of ownership that
Great
comes from having to earn money and then to carefully buy things with that money and have those things be yours and having some pride in what you've achieved and what you now own.
But the Great Society
Exactly.
didn't help this, did it? Because it took away the ethos.
Yeah, we've had a war on poverty for 50 years now,
Yeah.
and the war on drugs for about the same period of time. Unfortunately, we've conquered poverty and drugs.
It's
Mission
worse.
accomplished.
Well, it goes back further than that. I have two quick points.
Sure.
One, people keep forgetting about the Oklahoma Dust Bowl. It's not a matter of skin color. If you take any group of people and you infantilize them and make them dependent on the government, that first generation born into that group is going to be fairly terrible more often than not. Not talking about individuals, just talking about as a group. Because you've created a culture of dependence. And it's not good. So it's, there are for lack of a better word, white trash that were created out of the beneficence that we had toward people in the Dust Bowl. For starters,
A lot of white trash.
there are plenty. People like to forget about poor white people who need to step up because they don't count, right? So yeah, whatever. So screw them. The other thing is that it's Jenna to leverage Jenna's point. I think it's actually also a conflict of interest. If you have a group of 100 people living in a place and you say, okay, we're going to come in here and we're going to renovate it, and 75% of you are not going to be able to afford to live here when it's done. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a vote, they're going to vote no. And if you combine the ability to basically vote down renovation with rent control, you've got the perfect formula. You essentially have just this class of people that have no incentive whatsoever to make anything better than it is.
Yep. Status quo ante.
Yeah.
One of my issues with Section 8.
Yep.
Well, yeah, they have incentivized poverty. It's as long as you live just below this standard, you're going to get all the goodies.
So I wanted to get that out there to make sure that we all agree that Baltimore sucks. There's nothing to be done about it except maybe make it a nuclear test range or a jail. And I think we've done that. Now, as a little palate cleanser, I have an audio-visual moment to share with everyone if I can find it here. Let's see. Let's see, is this it? Tell me I did that. I thought that I had this queued up, but I may not. Anyway, I may have to do sock puppets, and that's fine. I certainly can do that. So I'm watching this. You know what? I really do want to find this. Talk amongst yourself just for a minute. Let me find this real quick. It's
We shall talk amongst ourselves. Read any
Can you
books
believe
lately?
that, Skep? Ugh.
It's probably in the last place you put it.
now I accidentally seem to have.
I always like that advice.
Carlson.
Oh, probably in the last place you put it. Go figure.
That's why you're always supposed to look in the last place first. And you'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
No, I have toddlers.
Yeah, they move the things that you put in the last place.
Things just grow legs and walk away.
Yeah, they do.
Here we go. We're going to share a moment here with Tucker Carlson. So I'm going to let's see if I can successfully do this. I'm going to share my screen. I have to go back over here, and this is harder than it looks.
Yeah, don't forget the share sound part of it.
Yep, share video file, and the not video file.
This is why Nana here doesn't do
Damn
this
it!
stuff.
I want to share the screen. Share the screen. Not share the video file.
Hold on, I got this. Skep's computer, if you keep messing with him, I'm coming at you.
Tab.
I'm coming for you.
And share audio. Click yes, and we go.
She'll bring scissors.
President and the Speaker, Joe Biden.
Can everybody hear that?
Appeared at something the other day.
Yes.
Yes.
Tock's virtual issues conference. It was mostly an unremarkable event, but there was one moment that stuck out. Toward the beginning of it, Nancy Pelosi declared unprompted that her grandchildren no longer use the phrase open sesame.
We do not say open sesame. We say open Biden. That's our magic word. Open Biden. I love it.
Oh, fuck off.
We don't say open sesame, we say open Biden. What does that mean? We have no idea. Waiting for a response from the Speaker's office. We'll bring it to you when we get it.
I just thought you guys would enjoy that. Much as I did.
Are they wanting to sell Grandpa's organs? Like,
These are the people that got salty about Cafefe, by the way.
Yeah.
That is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. That is the number third. Yeah, that's number 3 person, potentially in our executive government. Yeah.
okay.
Skep, let's discuss 1 and 2. It's not a good lineup.
No, it's not. It's not impressive. But, you know, one of them's senile, one of them's evil, and the other one is just crazy. That was just crazy.
That, I believe, might be, there's something, what's the name? Is it Korsakoff syndrome? Alcoholic dementia?
Yeah. This is alcoholic dementia. This is late stage. It could be cirrhosis based. It could be lots of things. Your liver might be shutting down, for God's sake. But when your liver shuts down, you gork, and maybe she's pre-gorking.
I'll tell you what else it is. It's a lie.
Yeah.
As in things that never happened for 1,000 hours.
Oh, absolutely. And the full story of that comment is that was her grandkids. The grandkids were going for ice cream at some, $100 a plate ice cream place. She was taking them, and it had swinging Western style doors, and they went up to the doors and they said, "We say open Biden." These are her grandchildren.
Things that never happened for 1,000, please.
Yeah, it
Yes.
did not. It
She's
did
like
not happen.
like those moms on Facebook who says my 3-year-old schooled some abortionist or
Right.
pro-life or one of those things that they put on Facebook.
Yep. It's a woman's right to choose, asshole. I was so proud of him. Then the
Yeah.
whole room clapped.
Yeah. Just the-
Yeah. So do you know about some of the high-end ice cream places that these people go to? I kid you not. There's one of them in, this is short, I promise, in, where is it? I can't remember. It's near Palo Alto. It might be Menlo Park.
Okay.
Where you can go there and they will make up your ice cream, sort of the concoction, the custard, and then they will chill it with liquid nitrogen to make your ice cream on the spot instantly.
Can
you
I totally.
contemplate the
It's
carbon
so
footprint?
much fun. I've had
The
that
carbon
before.
footprint of liquid nitrogen cooled to order ice cream is insane.
Cream?
But these are all the Green New Deal people.
Yeah, the temperature delta to produce liquid nitrogen and then expend it to make ice cream cold, it just boggles the mind. In fact,
I'm not saying it isn't good, Sora. I'm just saying that
It's so stupid, but it's so much fun.
Oh yeah.
I love how Sora and I are all excited, like, oh yeah, we know that place.
Well, the thing that I thought of the other night when we were talking about fusion, because liquid nitrogen being one of the most efficient ways to cool the whole process, is there goes the trendy ice cream shit.
Yeah, they'll be using all the liquid nitrogen for fusion.
Yeah,
But-
that'll upset them, and that'll be a reason not to do it.
But totally.
No, but you're not going to believe what else has an insatiable demand for, the insatiable demand for a particular product has created a giant carbon footprint. And do you know what that product is?
Cell phones.
Cannabis.
Oh.
It is no secret that the United States $13 billion cannabis industry is big business. Less obvious to many is the environmental toll this booming business is taking in the form of greenhouse gas emissions from commercial, mostly indoor production. A new study by Colorado State University researchers provides some of the most detailed accounting to date of the industry's carbon footprint, a sum around which there is only limited understanding. What is clear, though, is that consumer demand for cannabis is insatiable and shows no sign of stopping as more states sign on for legalization. The study was published in some lefty journal, and it was led by a graduate student, an interesting name, whose advisor, also an interesting name, is an associate professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. These clowns, a research scientist in mechanical engineering, and some other people performed a life cycle assessment of indoor cannabis operations across the United States, analyzing the energy and materials required to grow the product and tallying corresponding greenhouse gas emissions. So they're effectively doing an accounting exercise here, because what's happening is they're saying, okay, electricity is used, and this is the amount of electricity in this region that is used, that we can specifically identify directly with the growing of cannabis. They found that greenhouse gas emissions from cannabis production, which we should quickly say, the greenhouse gas emissions come from the production of electricity, and the electricity is then used to assist in growing the cannabis, doing things like dehumidifying rooms, heating places, light, all that kind of stuff. And they pertain to electricity production, and I guess also some natural gas consumption from for environmental controls, high intensity grow lights, supplies of carbon dioxide for accelerated plant growth. So they actually put greater amounts of carbon dioxide in the areas where they grow the plants, and it makes them grow faster. Good to know. Anyway, the what they came out with was a the research shows that U.S. indoor cannabis cultivation results in life cycle greenhouse gas emissions of between 2,200 and 5,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide per kilogram of dried flower. That's a substantial amount of carbon dioxide to get a dried flower that people can then smoke or consume in some other way and to get high on. Compare that to emissions from electricity use in outdoor and greenhouse cannabis growth, which is 22.7 and 326.6 kilograms of carbon dioxide, respectively. So, an order of magnitude in both, actually 2 orders of magnitude in one of them. So the outdoor and greenhouse numbers only consider electricity, that's probably why. The outdoor and greenhouse numbers are electricity only, whereas the CSU researchers' estimate is more comprehensive, and I think probably loaded to be larger. I think there's probably a little bit of a narrative going on there too. They wanted to, the people who do this kind of research like it when it comes out and says, this is a major source of pollution. Aha! Look what I've done. Look how virtuous I am.
Yeah, and there's also it almost sounds like that they put the closet grow light people in charge of the strategery here.
Yeah, it's interesting because electricity use from cannabis cultivation and other products grew to 4% of Denver's total electricity consumption in 2018.
Wow.
How much of the total consumption?
4%. 4% of Denver's total electricity was devoted to growing cannabis.
That's
a
lot for a quote-unquote cottage industry.
It is.
I have a genius idea to solve this whole problem.
Grow it outside.
No. So during the big Bitcoin mining boom, there were a whole ton of servers set up in Iceland because the power is incredibly cheap. It's all geothermal.
Oh yeah.
And we won't even talk about the carbon footprint, but the Earth was going to belch that out anyway.
I was just going to say it's a fixed cost.
But now that Bitcoin is kind of expensive. I mean, really expensive to mine. It doesn't make any sense. What they should do is take all those data centers, give all those PCs and servers to charity, and then set up indoor grow farms, so we could have only the finest Icelandic pot.
Oh, that's an interesting. Just grow
Yeah.
all the pot in Iceland.
Yeah, with all green electrons used to grow it. Just turn Iceland into a huge pot farm.
Yeah. Also, the electrons obviously are better in Iceland. You know, on
You
a
get
cap.
the
It's a
best
very-
buds from those
Yeah.
electrons.
Those
Yeah,
are
free
the
range electrons.
Free range electrons, exactly. You just never know where they're going to be.
They lay
It's
the
all
best-
matter of probability.
They lay the best eggs.
Yeah, but on a serious note, the one thing that they may have
Stage
forgotten from their
free.
calculation
Yeah.
is that water is actually very expensive energy-wise. Pumping water is no easy feat. And anybody who has a water supply that has to be actively pumped,
Yes.
you're talking about a lot of hidden energy use there.
Especially when you're talking about an area that is prone to drought in the last several decades. Colorado has not been seeing the snow caps and the snowy water that they were as accustomed to.
Yeah, they have not been affected too much though in Denver, because Denver gets the Front Range runoff, and that's good for a number of reasons. One thing, the reservoirs are up in the foothills, which means that the water pressure in Denver is amazing. And
Thank you, gravity.
yeah, thank you, gravity. And it's plus there's just so much water that runs down the. I mean, you know, that's a very significant source of water, and big fat rivers go flowing out of Colorado. That's where the big fat rivers are, and then they start to dwindle down when they get around Texas and New Mexico and so forth, because everybody's taking a piece out of them all the way down, including Mother Nature. So, but yeah, the water in Colorado, man, there's a lot of it, and it's that's one thing that's really nice in Colorado. Yeah, you have to deal with radon gas in your basement, but you'll love the water up there. It's full of fluoride too. It's substantially, statistically noticeable less tooth decay in Denver because of the fluoride in the water, and statistically more yellow, gray, brown staining of kids.
Wait, how do you have fluoride in your water?
It's dissolved out of the minerals in the ground. Fluorine is quite soluble in water. It's very happy to live in water.
Naturally occurring.
It
substance.
aggressively likes ions.
Yeah, yes, it's rather aggressive. You know how I talked about metals are whores, and well, this is the other party to the business here.
Yeah.
This is the other side. This is the I guess you'd say electropositive, but the positive attitude. So
Can I share a quick metal story?
Sure.
So, I don't give myself my migraine shot. Someone else does it just because if I have to put an emergency, it could go really bad. So we're teaching Gavin how to do it. Just shove it in my leg. He hit a screw.
Oh.
That is not fun.
It wasn't that bad for me. He felt so guilty, but so
Can't you palp those screws with your finger?
Yeah.
Can't you feel them?
yeah.
So don't plunge there. Plunge over here.
Well, you know, this calcification built because when you break a bone, I don't know if you guys know this, and you have a TBI, you get more shit. I had the word and then it left me. You have more calcification, And you actually have even more with the TBI and a broken bone. So my legs are actually so straight and then a bump up and then straight again.
Oh, so I mean, for palpating, because there's calcification.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell a screw from a bone bump.
Well, no, this because he hit near my knee. This was a screw, but the it's very interesting. And every few years, I have to go in and they shave off the calcification because I don't want to look like.
You don't want to look like lumpy, bumpy sack of rocks in pants.
Yeah.
Oh, well, silly you.
Or they break it off by, you have to be put asleep to do this. Otherwise,
Yeah, I would think so.
Nothing like snap, snap. There goes your extra calcium.
yeah, on both
Do
legs.
you want me to shave that for your smoothies?
Oh yeah, I'd love that. That's really good.
Jenna could start a cottage industry. For, hey girls, are you worried about osteoporosis? Have some of my bone.
Seriously, it's actually very interesting to watch it go up and get higher and higher.
A little off the topic of.
I know. I'm
fluorides
sorry.
in
I'm
the
completely
water,
off
but-
topic. For my screw thingy though, the poor kid felt so horrible, and it's bruised all around it.
Aw,
And
yes.
he, well, that's what therapy's for.
Right.
You're gonna
These
give
are
him
yours.
fluoride therapy? Just try to. I was trying to find a way to knot it back around to fluoride.
Well,
I
and
buy a toothpaste with fluoride in it. Does that count?
Yeah.
That's a different fluoride, but yeah.
anyway, I thought the whole thing was interesting that a place like Colorado State, which is a pretty big university, believe it or not, it would take an interest in finding out how much electricity was being devoted to growing marijuana in
Would
their
you say
area.
that's kind of a cultural statement about Colorado Springs versus Denver? To some extent.
It might be. I mean, yeah, CSU is the liberal part of Colorado Springs. Okay, I mean
Yeah.
it used to be a much more conservative university, but it has gone the way of all flesh. And while Colorado Springs itself is, yes, a bastion like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, of
Well, but I just kind of
conservative to the point of crazy.
Yeah, but I was thinking of more Colorado Springs taking the piss out of Denver with you're using electricity. Ha ha ha. We're greener than you are. Ha ha ha.
Yeah,
You potheads. Ha ha ha.
you certainly could come to that conclusion, saying you've got to have your pots, so suddenly the environment isn't so important because you've got to get your.
Yeah, it could. I mean, it could be, and particularly coming out of the STEM crowd,
Mm-hmm.
who already might have a slightly better understanding of recreational uses. Fine past a certain age after the brain's finished developing, but you stoners are fucking it up for the rest of us.
Yeah.
You fake greenies, you. And Boulder is thick on the ground with enviro-Nazis who are token, and they don't even realize what's going on. You're making it worse as you drive your electric car with your honking carbon footprint lithium battery and your hydroponically grown pot.
Right.
I actually have a question about the lithium batteries for the cars.
Okay.
From what I understand, they're more dangerous to the environment than, say, a family having 4 gas guzzler.
That might not be the equation, but to extract lithium, And the lithium disposal is a greater carbon footprint than a gas.
I thought it couldn't be
Several
recycled.
gas cars, yeah. I don't remember what the actual count was, but it was kind of noticeable. Oops.
But it's a quick fix, so they're okay with it
Well,
because they don't have to worry about.
there is a place in Germany. Now, I got this from Craig, but he doesn't blow smoke up my skirt. I didn't get a chance to look at the article. That they are looking at a way of recycling lithium batteries. They think
Yeah,
it may-
because lead acid batteries are virtually 100% recyclable.
Mhm. Yeah,
And-
yeah.
So, the problem is that, like in lead recycling, when you recycle lead, you create waste.
Mhm.
You do a lot of environmental contamination if you have a lead recycling plant. It's not you may think you're doing a good thing, but there are other chemical processes that are involved. What happens is lead recycling tends to happen in countries like Malaysia and
Yeah.
Cambodia.
Where they
Mm.
don't care
Okay,
if they
and
fucked
lead
up.
recycling in countries like that is often carried out without the necessary processes and technologies that are required to control lead emissions and other things that do bad things to the environment.
Yeah, just like our trash, shipping our trash to Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you wonder why there's a floating island of shit in the Indian Ocean.
You know,
Oops.
there's actually three, and one is in the Western Pacific, one is in the IO, and there's one that's developing in the South Atlantic. Isn't that nice?
Good. Yeah, that's nice.
Yay.
The hurricanes can pick them up and move them around. That'll be great. That'll
Yeah.
just be spiffy.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, why look, I have a to-go bag from. Oh, I think this is from Uruguay.
Yeah, 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How charming.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's
But-
trash from China.
Yeah.
It just gets broken down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces of plastic, and then you can eat it when you have fish. So it's
Mm.
great.
Yeah, it's great because that particulate.
Yeah, I'm
plastic
looking
is
at
just so healthy for us.
I'm looking at a report that says had cases in Senegal, Dominican Republic, and Vietnam where contamination from lead acid battery recycling resulted in negative health effects, including potentially the death and deforming of children.
Oh, that's
Lovely.
So
lead
yeah,
and kids go together great, as we know. Have
Well,
some
those
more lead
tiny
paint,
little
kids.
hands.
but
Yeah.
here's the thing about lithium-ion batteries: they are recycled at a rate below 5%. Okay.
They're being recycled at a rate below.
At a rate
5%.
of 5%.
Yeah,
So they are not being recycled
I
worth
have a
of shit.
I have a feeling that the story that Cree was referencing is that they were looking for to increase the recycling.
Well, see, lithium is not a toxic heavy metal.
Right.
I mean, lithium is one of the most common elements in in the universe, and there has been far less pressure to recycle lithium-ion batteries than there has been the lead-acid batteries. But I think that will change eventually.
Yeah, it's just that the lie, going back to what the kind of the point was, if you don't mind,
Mhm.
that the electric car
Yeah.
is nowhere near as efficient as people think it is.
Oh no.
Well, you have to, number one, you have to plug the fucker in, okay? Where are you getting that power from? I mean, now I did see a cute Rube Goldberg that some dude created where he basically put a flywheel off the spoke of one of his rear tires as a power feed, which I thought was very, very interesting. And a possibility.
Put a playing card in it so it makes a noise. That way the electric car can't sneak up on people.
Yeah. Well, but no, this guy put the flywheel on as a generator, Harry, to generate power.
Yeah, but he's not going to break even on that.
Nobody's going to extend it.
No, Harry, it's a perpetual motion machine
He's
because
gonna-
you just plug in the car to the thing that the flywheel. It's brilliant. We fixed it.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. He's extending his he's extending his trip per charge by a tiny bit. He's probably just model testing.
I
to
think
see
it's going to
what
be
the-
a net negative.
Yeah,
Actually. It's gonna be
Probably, 'cause
slight-
of the
Let the
drag.
man have his fun. Oh my god.
Well,
Yeah, I know. It's like, we don't bring you here to tell us what you can't do.
probably. And who knows? He may be testing the theory.
Harry's heard that before.
He could be
Yeah.
testing the theory, but he's putting drag on his rear tire.
Yeah, that's why I prefer a small windmill that's mounted on a mast.
Yeah,
Oh my
that
God.
sounds like
Yes.
fun.
Yeah,
That's
so what you want to do is you want to capture all of the
Wee,
wind,
wee.
the slipstream that
Yes.
creates like a vortex that pulls the car backwards.
Uh-huh.
Instead, you run it through a nice pinwheel,
Mhm.
and that disperses it so it can't pull the car backwards. So actually, if you could
I
if you
sense
could
a Geico ad.
simultaneously improve the air, as I'm making a joke, I'm sitting here thinking, if you could improve the aerodynamics and siphon power, you might actually have a net increase.
Yeah, it's the celery of aerodynamics. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the. I'm just picturing what the hell was that stupid.
It
pig's
was the
name
pig.
in
It
the
was the little
Geico
pig.
ads.
Yeah.
Wee.
Oh, yeah,
With his little pinwheel.
Yeah.
It's just.
the mom, the carpool driver mom is like,
Thank you.
all right, Terrence,
Or
we're at your
whatever.
house. Get out of my car.
one of the problems with lithium is how you get it. Most lithium is mined and produced as a side product, I believe, of cobalt mining. And cobalt mines tend to be deep and dangerous.
Yes.
And in the Far East, they send children down to do the mining because children are considered to be less valuable.
Mhm.
And a lot of kids die in cobalt mines.
Like
Mhm.
mica mining.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Mica or
Mica.
galena mining also same type of thing.
I
Sora.
need that from
Yeah.
my radio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, crystal, my crystal radio.
I'm gonna listen to Cats and Jammer Kids.
My God.
But I thought the lithium / cobalt mines were like big, deep, almost strip mine kind of affairs. It's like that big inverted Tower of Babel kind of affair. Or am I confusing those with other types?
No. I think many of them are, but the real horror stories are the ones that are, essentially all you have to do is get some depth into the Earth's crust, and you'll start coming across it. So some are built in the strip mining types of things. The other thing is, the deeper you go, the less ore you have to throw away. The better the ore is. That's what reading an article 30 years ago about this. And I'm just recalling that.
The purer the vein.
Yeah,
It's true in Minecraft. But yeah,
I've never played Minecraft, so I don't know. But
you'd actually like it, I think.
I've watched my grandson, and I fixed his computer when it wouldn't play Minecraft, and I got him going on it, and I watched him. I have a feeling some people think that Minecraft is real. It's reality.
Yeah.
For them, that's reality.
Hmm.
But that's just a theory. Anyway, so
Dude, there are people that think that hentai's reality.
That what's real? Prospero?
Hentai.
hentai,
just
anime
saying.
porn.
Yeah.
You're not very flexible.
Where are your tentacles? I'm disappointed.
Jesus.
When you took off your hoodie, I was expecting cat ears.
Right, exactly. Oh me. So there you go.
It's we live in interesting times.
So, I was wondering if Prospero wanted to talk a little bit about this thing you came up with the story that you came to me with about Jared Kushner.
Oh, the charming headline
Yes,
that well, let me go retrieve this.
Jared Kushner, overconfident moron, has some advice for Joe Biden.
Okay.
Yeah, here's here's my gripe with this, and I need to retrieve how they had it posted. Give me 1 second.
Do you want the link? I've got it.
To
it's
the
like-
actual
Yeah, to
way
the actual.
Vanity Fair worded it when they posted it.
I've actually got the Vanity Fair.
I don't mean
Article.
the article. I'm
Oh,
talking
I've got the
about
article.
what they said. Jared Kushner, who helped his father-in-law kill 400,000 people,
Oh, that one. Yeah.
have some free tips for Joe Biden. That's how they classed Jared Kushner, as someone who helped his father-in-law kill almost 500,000 people, as if it were active murder. That is okay. Fuck Vanity Fair. I hope BuzzFeed buys them. Just saying.
The opening to the article is last spring, Jared Kushner took a break from royally bungling the government's response to the COVID-19 crisis to have a chat with famed journalist Bob Woodward. At one point in their discussion, the then first son-in-law explained to Woodward that, in his estimation, the most dangerous people around the president are overconfident idiots. Rather than having had a come-to-Jesus moment about the fact that he literally had no business advising the leader of the free world about anything but how to impersonate a Madame Tussauds wax figure, Kushner was criticizing other people for supposedly overestimating their abilities during the same interview in which he bragged that the White House had cut medical experts out of the government's response to a historic public health crisis. Kushner's overconfidence, of course, had tragic consequences for the country. By Trump's last full day in office, the U.S. had lost 400,000 people to the virus the administration claimed would miraculously go away, and nearly 2 months later, an additional 135,000 people are dead. That's part of the reason, among many, many others, that no one ever wants to see or hear from Jared Kushner or his in-laws again. And yet, except for 80 million people, except for 75 million people. And yet, the guy calling other people overconfident idiots is not only still talking, but offering his father-in-law's successor foreign policy tips.
Foreign policy tips. Foreign policy tips. Cementing agreements with the UAE and Israel, Bahrain and Israel, Sudan and Israel, Morocco and Israel, and there was a fifth one in the works. That's just a tip. God, these people are salty.
Mm-hmm.
They really are salty. They can't stand the fact that Jared Kushner, who didn't claw his way up through the bureaucratic bullshit of Foggy Bottom and then slink his way into the upper echelons.
He doesn't have a union card.
Yeah, he doesn't.
It's that kind of a problem.
Yeah, he didn't come up through the School of Hard Knocks at the State Department. What's he doing diplomacy? Well, we've had a uneasy peace in the Middle East, care of the State Department for 3 generations now.
Yeah.
And you get somebody actually hammering out solid agreements. You get it might not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, but for an Israeli aircraft to overfly Saudi Arabia on the way to inking an agreement with one of the Emirate states, that's a big fucking deal.
Yep.
That
what it was going to accomplish for stability in the area and stability for Israel and potloads of money to be made by everybody involved in all of this, you know, the nations involved. Because one thing, the Emirates and Bahrain, they've got money.
And Israel's got product.
And Israel's got product and technology and all kinds of wonderful
And service out the wazoo.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Sudan, which is, you know, teetering right there on the edge of that shithole land, for them to normalize relations like that. And Morocco to kind of choose the future over the past.
Yes.
That's a huge damned accomplishment. And they're just mad that he's not wearing the right school tie. And he
Bess
doesn't-
Levin isn't going to have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
None of that peace stuff.
No, she's probably a BDS asshole.
She is. She's a suicide Jew.
Oh yeah, well then that's part of the problem, because one of the side effects of this, perhaps the entire goal of it, was functionally to isolate Palestine, the non-existent state of Palestine, the Palestinians, and their
Isolate Hamas and the PLO.
and I was going to say, and their masters, the PLO and Hamas.
Yep.
It won't isolate the people. You know, they've tried the blood libel on Israel with the vaccinations. They're not vaccinating the Arab population. Israel's vaccinated well over 50% of their population, Arab and Jew alike.
Yeah. By the way, we should be, for anybody who's about to correct Prospero and me, we should be saying PLA, and we know that. We know that PLA is the governing body. PLO is the club, the terrorist club. So, yeah, for anybody who's concerned that we're not saying PLA.
Sinn Féin, IRA, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Precisely. It's that kind of relationship. Guys, I'm going to have to step away for a minute. I'll be right back. Can you talk amongst yourselves?
Absolutely.
Can try.
For me?
We'll manage.
The controlling
I'll be right.
Palestinian Authority is the political branch. The PLO are the field operatives.
Yeah.
For want of a better way to describe them. And Hamas is, what would you say, the great cultural unifier of kill the Jew?
Well, they certainly have found a common enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They phrase that to an art form, from the river to the sea.
Yeah. I was trying to look at a full total cost analysis and, looking at the energy climate impact of neighborhood electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids and stuff. And man, this data is dense. There's an awful lot of factors to work through.
Yeah.
It's not an easy analysis.
No, it isn't. I mean, they ran a test ages ago. I think it was Automobile, or it wasn't Motor Trend, but it was one of the automotive publications, about efficiency for electric versus they used diesel as an example, and they did I guess they used the Golf diesel against the Chevy Volt, maybe, I can't remember. They were trying to get as much parity and curb weight and those kinds of things that they could, and the diesel was far more efficient. Far more efficient on a cross-country trip. But that's an unpleasant thing because diesel is petroleum.
Well, hybrids are a pretty good bet.
Yeah.
Because essentially what you're doing is taking energy that would be wasted and you're reusing it by using the battery as the battery or a supercapacitor. And hybrids make a lot of sense if you're basically going to live in a world where stop and go traffic is there. And I've said this to some Prius owners who were being self-righteous. I said, you do realize you basically got a car that's optimized for the worst kind of traffic to be in. So you're essentially saying, I've given up and I'm going to live through endless amounts of stop and go traffic, but at least I bought a car that uses marginally less gas and has a cup holder. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
You've chosen well, as opposed to getting a two-wheeled vehicle and going around all the mess,
Yeah, well,
which is what I do. So,
Yeah.
but I haven't had to use the two-wheeled vehicle for quite a while because the roads are a lot emptier than they used to be. It's going to be a difficult adjustment getting back to the old way of doing things, but I've already started, pumping up the tires and giving it a nice bath and shining things up and topping off the battery and doing all that sort of stuff because I think I'll probably be back on two wheels before too much longer.
Oh, that's nice.
I have no idea if you're talking about a bicycle or a motorcycle.
Does it matter?
Not
In
really.
the big scheme of things, either thing is good because you get to enjoy the big blue room.
I think
It's
the battery
really nice.
was the hint, Jenna.
Well, there are motorized bikes.
No, there are
Yeah.
bikes with motors,
Yeah.
batteries.
Actually,
Actually.
But
Tips her fedora.
we're a bike family, a motorcycle family, and so I'm sitting here thinking, but you don't have a what we like to call the family mobile motorcycle with the nice.
Yes, I selfishly only ride by myself.
you don't have one of those cool little sidecars where you can put your doggo friend.
You want to put the dog in with the doggles because there's few
Yes.
things more adorable than a dog wearing goggles in a sidecar.
Mhm.
No one is allowed to have a sidecar ever.
Okay. Why?
You hate my dog, is what you're saying.
No, just no.
What
I
do
don't
you
know.
have
You
against
explain it to the
sidecars?
dog.
They're not.
They're not cool.
Yeah.
They just don't look
Sidecars are
right.
pretty cool.
Oh, the Nazis had snazzy uniforms. They used them.
Yeah.
Sean Connery rode in a sidecar next to Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones movie. That was pretty cool.
If Sean Connery jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge?
I hope he can't now that he is deceased.
Sean Connery died?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah.
He jumped off a bridge.
When did he die?
Last
Right after the
October.
time changed.
Right before the last time change.
Hey,
Yeah, pretty
Harry,
much.
You
Yeah.
asshole.
guess what I'm doing to you?
Voodoo
Is
doll.
you feeling the wind around your middle finger? Is that what you're doing?
There's a possibility I might have Elizabeth's fingers up too.
Well, since you're feeling better tonight, I thought I'd treat you horribly just for old time's sake.
She's rope-ing in child. You know it's bad.
I know, she's got this tiny little thing, and she's already teaching her the high sign of friendship.
She's asleep.
Oh my god. That didn't make it better.
I don't know. It kind of did.
Oh,
That
good
did for
Lord.
me.
I'm prying the middle fingers up of a sleeping child. This is how
Well-
angry I am.
So Elizabeth all of a sudden became a thumb sucker. So one hand's really easy to grab. All of a sudden, though, she started sucking her thumb about her first birthday last month.
Well, she missed out on all that lovely early suckling thing because of the tube feedings.
Yeah.
So she's making up for it. Put a little cayenne pepper on that puppy. That'll cheer her up.
So I know we're on a different topic, but I don't know. Prospero, do you remember probably last year ago, you sent me a picture of that kid eating wasabi, or not wasabi,
Wasabi.
wasabi?
Mm-hmm. And you got so upset.
But no, I was able to be finally like, okay, wait, let's think this through.
Yeah. I remember it.
My jackass 16-year-old did that to Samuel.
See, it's normal.
He liked it.
Kids love tasting new things. Good for Samuel. He liked it. I mean, it's like the pictures of kids with lemons. They stick their hands out. They want the lemon. You're like, no, you won't like it. Okay, fine. Here's a goddamn lemon. They eat It's like, told you wouldn't like it. You know,
Those are
it's a circle of life.
Yeah, it's like, don't touch the flame. Don't touch the flame. Oh, you touch the flame. Now you're crying. Well, now you know not to touch the flame anymore.
2 weeks later, don't touch the flame. What happened the last time? Oh, look, you're burned again. It's just.
Well, for lemons, here's a great tip. So, you know how when you squeeze, I don't know if anyone uses what you can use besides the juice. But, what?
Like, you mean like
the zest?
like the zest?
Yeah, well, you can use the zest and stuff, but
Skep eats the whole fruit.
Yeah, I take a lemon and I bite it and I eat the entire lemon. I mean, until it's gone. There's nothing left except the little tag.
you eat the skin?
Yes, I eat the skin, and I have since I was 6, 7 years old.
Oh, you're not dead yet, so it must not be doing any harm.
Yet?
Yeah, there's no harm to the pith. It's just bitter.
I really love doing that. Like, whenever you get like the sliced lemons in cocktails or in your water and stuff, I will eat it whole too. But I've never actually eaten like out of the fridge, taken the lemon.
There is a variety of lemon that is so, it's both very sweet but very, very, very sour, and I could eat about a half one. They're also about the size of grapefruits. They come from Florida, and I forget what the variety is. It's the biggest lemon I have ever seen in my life, and I could eat half of one, and my mouth was just going, "Daddy, it hurts. It's time to stop now."
Do you have any enamel left on your teeth?
You know, that's the thing. I've talked with my dentist about it, and I have like 3 different dentist opinions. They all say exactly the same thing. It's not really bad for your teeth if you just swish your mouth out with water.
Okay, I wondered about that because
That's all you have to do.
Yeah, because I tend to drink lemon, but I don't always. I have trained myself to drink water without lemon, but I like lemon.
The dentists all like the vitamin C because that's all about tissue and gum health and stuff.
Well, yeah, and being a smoker, they ought to encourage me.
Yep.
To, put as much citrus in. I had an interesting conversation, speaking of peculiar things. This came up. Radlib, Harry, you'll appreciate this, was asking about does the same principle of the value of citrus against scurvy work in citrus in a cocktail? And I said, of course. And he said, well, why, of course, doesn't the alcohol negate the value of the citrus? And I was like, not in the drink per se. I mean, alcohol will suck vitamin C out of your body like it will a lot of other nutrients, and you're probably better off just with citrus. But the citrus doesn't cease being valuable citrus just because it's in a drink. And his, like, and also, where would the fun be in not having your cocktail, Stephen? Stop it. It's just...
Probably healthier than Sunny Delight. What is that? Like guaranteed 2% actual fruit juice?
Yeah.
Oh, don't drink
No
Sunny
way.
Delight.
Sunny Delight is just like a sugar bomb. It's amazing. Most fruit juice is. It's not the best way to get the nutrients and vitamins from fruit. Eating the fruit is the best way to do it. Juices are just fructose and sucrose bombs. Doesn't stop making them good. I mean, once in a while I just crave orange juice, and I could drink a half gallon if I'm craving it.
Do you know that alcohol in your body only destroys the B vitamins? It does. It destroys B9, B12, and it also destroys thiamine, which is B1, riboflavin, B2, niacin, B3, pantothenic acid, B5, and pyridoxine. Excuse me. I always think it's peroxidine, which is another chemical, B6. And
well, according to
but
the article I read, it will reduce vitamin C, but I always
here's why
vitamins.
here's why it gets rid of. I'm talking about the kind of getting rid of that I'm talking about is where it chemically reacts in your body. Then what you're talking about is pissing it away.
Diuretic, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and the water soluble vitamins, yes, because alcohol is hygroscopic, it will cause you to diurese, and so in doing that, you will get rid of your water soluble vitamins.
So you should always put free
while it's
alcohol.
doing that, what it's doing while you're diuresing, it's also getting into the bloodstream, and when it finds any of these B vitamins, it effectively dissolves them.
Mm-hmm. Well, my parents used to joke about, you want to be one? Yes, I'd like to be one. About if they were together with friends for like a weekend, when there was going to be far more alcohol consumption than routinely in their lives,
Mm-hmm.
they would have B vitamin. And just to replenish the body of B vitamin.
Oh, sure, B complex.
Yeah, I was carrying a big jug of B complex in Vegas.
Yeah.
And handing them to the couple of people we were with who were, I don't believe, sober for the entire week we were there at all, ever. I don't think their body ever stopped. I was like, here, have one of these. Just here, have one of these. Because I'm like, dude, could drink a glass of water just to make me feel better? Because I'm getting your headache.
Yeah.
The one you deserve. It's just...
Can I?
Of all the things on Twitter that, get discussed, mixology and citrus, it's like, cool.
Can I finish what you do with lemons for a baby?
Sure. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
What do
I
you do?
didn't write it down, but I worked on remembering it without interrupting and being able to talk about something else for a few seconds.
Atta girl.
Yay!
You go, girl.
Anywho, now I forget. So when you use a lemon for whatever, you cut it into pieces, you put it in the freezer, and they can gnaw on that thing. And it's kind of, you don't want to do it all the time because, actually, you know what? If you want to do it all the time, do it all the time. But, so the frozen with the meat, I don't know what exactly, the guts, how you would eat an orange, you eat a lemon. That's how you freeze them.
Mm-hmm. In segments, yeah.
And yes, the juice might have been used by someone else, but they don't care.
Oh yes,
And
they can chew
it's
on the pith and the rind.
a great teething trick.
Oh.
It also takes their mind off when they first taste it. I've never had a baby not make a weird face and shake their head. Like, what just happened to me?
Yes.
And then they love it though. And
that makes sense.
you can also do it not frozen, but if you're out and you forgot something for them to chew on.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you need a chew toy for the baby.
The giraffe, whatever her name is.
Was Della, Sophie the
Sophie the giraffe. Yeah.
yeah. I don't like those because water gets into them, and
Oh, does it get bacteria?
I'm so allergic to penicillin that we have to be careful that the kids' toys don't get moldy.
Mm.
One, I'm terrified they're going to be. Now, I know, yes, I know they're not biologically related to me, but I still worry if they have a reaction. I mean, I have a lot of kids, and there is a good chance that one of them will be allergic to the cylinders.
I mean, just because they're not biologically related to you doesn't mean that that's a fairly common allergy.
Yep, it is.
So it's a good
My dad
rule.
my dad is allergic to penicillin. It's his only allergy. And but when he was growing up, that was the antibiotic.
Mhm.
There was they had the sulfa drugs, which were even then becoming limited in their efficacy. But there was this brand new thing called penicillin that he could not avail himself of.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
My
Yeah.
mother
Penicillin was good
developed
shit.
an allergy to.
Mhm.
So
She
I
had
had
been-
some. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Harry.
Well, I was going to do a huge shift in topic because there's something I've been meaning to bring up with you, and it probably fits in the last half hour if you're
Sure,
okay.
I absolutely. I had nothing else planned.
So here's the deal. As I look at the news and I hear about all the stories over the last year or so, what seems to be fundamentally out of whack are people's ability, and Prospero's run into this on the Twitter more than a few times, is people don't understand the relationship between the value of life and risk. And this comes up in a lot of different forms all the damn time.
Give me an
person-
example of what you're talking about.
Well, Prospero was talking to some former sex worker turned socialist agitator, her talking about how people could just stay home from their factory jobs if the billionaires who ran the factories cared about them. Because why should they be, accepting this risk while these billionaires get rich? And, the world is an uncomfortable place. I mean, I know you've seen this.
A little bit.
But there are these people called actuaries, and all they basically do is run around calculating risk and how many people are going to die if you don't spend X amount of money.
Yeah.
And there's the famous example of, I think was it Lee Iacocca, not wanting, when he was working for Ford, not wanting to put the gas strap on, was it the Capri or the Pinto?
It was
I think
the
it was the
Pinto.
Pinto. It was the Pinto. Because they calculated that it was going to cost, like $10 per car.
Yeah,
But over
$15
millions and millions
per
of
car.
cars,
I
it was
read
cheaper
that
just.
book.
Yeah, it was just cheaper to pay off the lawsuits from the few people who had their car explode when they got rear-ended.
That's exactly right.
Jesus Christ.
Because it was going to be
Yeah.
$15 a car to do it.
But this happens
exactly.
This happens all the time. People say, "Oh, I can't afford this car." Well, that's because your car puts out 2 kilowatts of power to power a bunch of stuff and has a ton of safety gear and stuff in it. That stuff adds up. People say, "I can't afford a house." Well, part of the reason you can't afford a house is because they won't let you build on the cheap land down by the river because it floods, and they force you to build using standards that'll handle most kinds of disasters that come along. If nobody cared about quality, and people realize that with billions and billions of people on the planet, that human life is shouldn't be, but regrettably cheap in the end analysis, a lot of people could have much better lives if they just had a better assessment, a better handle on risk. And I was just curious what you thought about that.
Tell it to the Trial Lawyers Association.
Well, exactly. I mean, risk is a thing that we all, every time you get on an airplane, you're accepting risk. Every time you get in a car, you're accepting risk.
Absolutely.
You know,
You know-
at my age, I know there's about a 1 in 10,000 chance that I won't make it to the end of the year. And every time I get on a motorcycle, I have to go, okay, so what are my odds here? And, you know, it's certainly the kind of thing where you go, you have your whole life to live, and you're the most likely person to crash. Maybe you having a 200 horsepower motorcycle at age 18 isn't such a hot idea because you have so much potential life. But yeah, everything is risk. The only reason we have anything is because we take risks.
Absolutely.
If everybody just said that human life is the only thing that matters, we could all just stay home and starve. And then we'd cease to exist and the planet would be happy.
One of the biggest risks that you can take is start a company. Start a company. Let me know how hard it is. I've started companies. I've started my own business. I've had 3 of my own businesses, and I was a principal in a 4th. And let me tell you something. That is a risky, scary thing to do. Even when you think you've got a handle on the competitive situation and it's a good market and it's a good time and you have all the things going for you, you've really done your homework, you go out there, it is absolutely terrifying thing to do. And if you want to craft a world in which the guy who pushes the broom and sweeps up the place makes exactly the same amount of money as the guy who takes the risk, takes his life savings, pours it into a company, and tries to make a go of it and employ other people and work 80-hour weeks and all the things. If you say, well, those people need to earn exactly the same amount of money, then you're for equity, because that's what equity is. Equity means equal stuff for everybody. That's what Ibram X. Kendi wants. That's what these socialists and communists want. And they are socialists and they are communists. Now, they don't like to be called that because it's not time yet for them to be called that. It's inconvenient in the public relations sense right now because communism and socialism are a hard sell because they mean slavery and misery for most of the people, except for the people way at the top, which is where Ibram X. Kendi will be in the New World Order.
Or less than 21 years old, who've been told by their professors that wasn't real communism. We haven't tried real communism yet.
Right. We'll do it right this time.
We'll do it right this time because billionaires are the sign of a sick society, whereas in my mind, billionaires are a sign of a healthy society. Because
Absolutely.
What it means is you can work, you can scrape, you can get ahead. And people have this notion that rich people are rich because they inherited the money or stole it somehow.
Right.
And the amount, when somebody gets rich, it doesn't, what is it, 2 generations typically before all the money's gone?
Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations is the old saying.
Yeah, it's just, it's not the case that most rich people are rich because things were unfair. Now, yeah, I mean, Donald Trump got seed money from his dad, and not everybody gets seed money. Totally fair point. But, a lot of people, like Elon Musk, was working in a friend's garage putting together his first company.
Yeah.
He started out with a small software company and then made another company and then made another company. And is finally, doing Tesla, which then he's leveraging into SpaceX and leveraging into the Boring Company and everything else. The fact that he's risking, every time he does a new venture, he's basically risking everything.
Exactly.
And you can't just shut down the Tesla factory for a year and expect him to be okay, because to make that business, he had to leverage. It isn't just, I have $1 billion, I'll start a $1 billion company.
You have
That is
bankers
not
chasing
how it
you.
works.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I'm thinking more of, risk of dying.
Right.
Like the teachers that think they shouldn't be required to go to school until they have absolute safety. If you're vaccinated and you get both shots, why on earth do you need plexiglass to protect you from kids? The kids aren't going to kill each other. We had, about 30 deaths from COVID in the under 18s?
That whole thing is coming from the unions who just want the teachers to be paid for not working.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But the whole narrative of the risk that they're taking, that it's
That's
not
nonsense.
right.
It's nonsense.
It's because you hate these people or you're exploiting them. It's like It's complete nonsense.
If you want to know risky environment, join the military. I mean,
or work on a fishing boat.
Yeah, exactly. Work on a fishing.
Yeah, there are more people. I think probably if you're not in wartime, more people die fishing
No doubt
than
about
they
it.
do in the military.
It absolutely is the most hazardous occupation. It truly is. But here's the thing about the military.
Fishing and military.
When they moved all those people to Iraq, they knew that just moving those people would kill 3 service members. They knew that 3 people would die. And do you know how many people died in the move from the United States to Iraq? Accidentally? 3.
Yeah.
The actuaries are pretty good.
Yeah, actuaries are very good, frighteningly good.
Yeah, it's absolutely frightening. It's exactly the right word for it.
Yeah.
That's where Tom, Dick, and Harry went.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the 3 that didn't make it. But everything in life is risk, and all of these arguments that are based around the assumption of if you really cared, you wouldn't worry about the money. I got bad news for you. You always have to worry about the money.
Right.
I was talking to somebody who's working for a company where they did a little bit of trimming. I wouldn't even call it a layoff. Just a very small number of people got let go. I mean, it sucks if you're one of them, but it's not so bad. And the guy said, "Well, I guess this is to be expected when you're publicly traded and you have to care about profits." And I said, "Look, the thing about capitalism is about any business is they all have to worry about profits, unless they're the government. They're the only people that don't have to worry about profits." And I said, "Capitalism has gotten a really bad rap lately. The thing that people forget is that capitalism is the worst economic system except for all the others."
Right.
So
well said.
What's wrong with profit? Of course they have to worry about profit. The profit is what's used to pay your salary, the person left behind.
Yeah, THUR. Yeah,
A lot of people can't accept that, though. What are you going to say, Prospero? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. The woman that I was talking to was inordinately upset because 400 people out of 10,000 had gotten COVID while working at the Tesla factory. It's a 10,000 employee operation. 400 people got COVID. Let's take away a couple zeros and tell me how many per 100 that is. Well,
0 is better than 4.
that's exactly what she said.
Really?
Statistically, you were 3 times safer working at the Tesla factory, being in that Tesla factory, than you were in the general population of California. California's general population infection rate was 12%. And yours was 4. Nationally, 20%. 4. 0's better than 4. Well, no shit, honey. But just getting up, rolling out of bed, and getting in the goddamn shower might kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many people slip and fall in a bathtub? Not everybody has a 0 entry shower. How many people are killed on their commute to work? Most people are involved in automobile accidents within 25 miles of where they live.
Their Tesla could have burst into flames. It has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened too, right?
Yeah, a dump truck could blow a tire and fall over on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened. Just the act of cleaning yourself. There could be a short in your toaster oven and you could electrocute yourself.
You can get hit in the sternum with a basketball and die just because of a freak accident.
Yeah.
Because the impact to your heart came at just the wrong time relative to the electrical signals going to the heart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got lucky when I got drilled with a baseball dead in the sternum.
It interrupts the atrioventricular node. Mm-hmm. It's the AV node, and it's boxers sometimes die from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you know that if you look at the number of people that die in household falls, slip and falls,
mm-hmm.
trip and falls downstairs, that kind of thing. You could slip on the ice, walking to your car on that frosty morning, and strike your head and die. There are all kinds of ways you could die. This, statistically speaking, by the way, if you go look at the CDC, the largest comorbidity category with COVID is an interesting statistical comorbidity: influenza pneumonia. It's comorbidity with COVID.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding?
200,000+ people
Sure.
out of the 500 and some thousand that have died had influenza pneumonia as a comorbidity. So did they have influenza and then they got exposed to COVID? Did they actually die of influenza? Who knows? Nobody's going to know.
It ends up
Because-
being a mixed infection because you'll
Right.
have some of the influenza virus particles and probably some of the COVID virus particles all combining to fill the lungs with water, with fluid basically, which is what pneumonia is. And
But
that's
if you
what they die
take
from.
those out as a mixed infection, which are not strictly COVID deaths, if you get my drift,
Yeah.
you drop the number of people who died from COVID to 300 and some thousand.
And
Which
I have to share the story of my cousin's death. I recently, I'm not going to share the story of my cousin who died from COVID last week. That was another thing entirely. He's an older person and he just wasn't careful, went out, caught COVID, didn't take care of himself, continued to smoke cigarettes and, almost offed himself in a way. So that's a different story. But I had another cousin who died as a fairly young man. And this guy was a serious long distance runner. I mean, he almost made it to the United States Olympic trials in the marathon. And he was 22nd at Boston, and he was he was second at the Peachtree in the Peachtree 10K in Atlanta. So, Carlton was a very serious runner. Anyway, post running, he graduates from college, graduates from Appalachian State, where he went through on a full boat ride track scholarship. He has a business degree, and he's on the phone on a business call in his office at home, right? He's leaning back in his chair, and he falls back. The chair keels over, and he falls back and smacks his head on the ground. Laughs it off, no big deal, and works the rest of the day, complains a little bit of a headache to his wife, and dies. Just like that. He was gone so fast. This guy was in amazing health. You can die from strange, weird stuff, just like what Prospero was saying. That's something where he smacked his head and his brain began to swell. He actually doomed himself as soon as his head hit the floor. There would have been nothing they could have done, they said.
Even if he had gone to the ER.
Even if he'd done it in Mass General in a meeting of the neuro surgeons committee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because so at any rate, yeah, he was just, things like that do happen. You can do real injury to yourself in unexpected ways. People die.
Yeah.
It just happens. And the other thing is we're conditioned to, I think, expect or want perfect safety.
There's no such thing.
We know that, but there are people who demand it. They want that, and it makes them unhappy to not have that. And they will always vote for the candidates who say, "I'll vote to. I will do things to make you more safe. It will cost more money, and you'll have to give me more power, but I'll make you more safe."
it's a feelings-based approach to tell, I
It
will
is.
always keep it is reestablishing the parental relationship. you know, because your parents tell you they will keep you safe and warm and all these things. And even as they're promising that to their children, they know goddamn well they can't follow through on it. Ask any parent who isn't a lunatic.
It's very true.
That they know full well that they could lose a child. Granted, it doesn't happen with enough frequency in our society anymore. But 3-4 generations ago, it happened all the goddamn time. All the time. You can't go to a cemetery and not see children's graves stretching into the middle of the 20th century on the regular. Because
or mothers died, like,
yeah,
or both died.
Yes, but I mean, you had countless children die. It was not a, you know, somebody who had 10 children, they just didn't think about it, okay? You don't borrow trouble. You don't look for trouble. But they knew that there was a good chance that 3 or 4 of those kids were going to die before they did.
Before they hit 1.
And it just, you know, I mean, I knew that my father's sister died when she was 15 months old. Because there was nothing medicine could do for a 15-month-old child who had measles and whooping cough back to back. It just wasn't, she just didn't have the wherewithal to survive it.
Yep.
Now, if some other child, perhaps in a wealthier family, may have had measles and whooping cough back to back and survived it, or may not have. There was an awful lot of just shitty end of the stick in life. But our infant mortality rate has started climbing again, but our infant mortality rate had reached a very negligible number almost. It didn't resonate in people's minds. And as a result, when anything bad happens to any young person, it is now a catastrophe of biblical proportion.
Oh, of course.
Well, it's a loss of potential, but
Yes.
but I have a good example of what I was driving at. No pun intended here. If you look at the 60s and 70s, there were small cars that you could get, and some of those things got insane mileage. They would get, 30, 40 miles per gallon, in some cases even a little more. But they were really minimal little cars. They were cheap, they were efficient, and you'd get yourself a beater and you could get from point A to point B. They were so easy on the pocketbook. But over time, what happened was, for a long time, your fuel efficiency just dropped. It got lower and lower and lower as you added more smog stuff, more safety stuff, more. It had to be heavier, it had to have crumple zones, it had to have all these different things added to it. And in exchange for a car that got shitty mileage, drove poorly, less fun to drive, cost a lot of money.
Less fun.
It's taken us decades of variable valve timing and multiple overhead cams and ignition systems that are much smarter, and all of these types of variable venturi ignition, just lots of things that we've had to come up with to just catch up to where we were when we had cheap cars. So now we can spend $40,000 on a small car that gets the same mileage as you could have gotten with a cheap, inexpensive car in the 70s. And how many people have spent how much extra money on mattresses? It's like, well, we have to, sometimes people get drunk and fall asleep with a cigarette and then they catch things on fire and they die.
Right.
Oh, well, I guess we just have to put chemicals on all of the mattresses. Regardless of whether, you're somebody who smokes in bed after drinking a lot, all of the mattresses have to be childproof to this point.
Yeah.
And I'm totally on board with safety. I mean, I think OSHA is a fine thing. I've done some work in industry and almost gotten damaged pretty well. I don't think there's a problem with lockout tags and good engineering. If anything, I would raise the numbers that they pay out when somebody loses an arm or loses their life, so that it maybe is a little more valuable than it is, because it's actually kind of shocking how little you get based on the tables for that sort of thing.
$2,000 for one eye.
But it's still a calculation. That's the point. We should maybe increase those values, but we shouldn't insist on perfect safety, because we can't just shut everything down forever, because frankly, some people are lazy and want to get paid for staying home.
It's
$2,000 for an eye.
That's one of the numbers that I remember. That's from probably 20 or 30 years ago. I'm sure it's more now, but
it's still not very much.
It's not much.
Adjusted for inflation.
It was like $50,000 for an arm 20 years ago, too. I mean, you lose an arm at work, here's your $50,000 check, and you're like, this does not feel like an equivalent exchange.
Yeah, got my arm back.
Yeah. And yes, I did just allude to an anime, sorry.
Floyd's family got $27 million.
Yes. That's
They deserved much, much more than that after those policemen machine gunned George Floyd down. I saw the tape of him getting machine gunned.
I saw them.
You're referencing my other lunatic?
Yes.
Shooting up the knee with a taser.
Crap, I have to go. I'm sorry. After I kicked this hornet's nest, but I thought you guys might enjoy thinking about this.
Well, we're wrapping up anyway. We'll see you in the after show.
Absolutely. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, Harry.
Night.
Night.
In fact, it's probably time to send it around for final thoughts. This has been a good show. Been kind of good rollicking conversation, and I just want to say how much I enjoy hanging with you guys. It has been a tough last week. Just been a little bit tougher than usual last week. I don't do sick very well. It's
I'm sorry.
hard for me to stay down.
It frustrates you.
Yeah, it does. It frustrates the hell out of me. I get so bored.
Do you get bratty?
What? Yeah, except who I'm married to will not stand for that. She's a nurse.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
Shut the fuck up and go take a nap.
Exactly. You don't know what pain is. Fuck off. You know. It's very sympathetic. So, but anyway, I do want to just say that I just love hanging out with you guys and to get to do this once a week. To have to get to be the host once a week and then to hang out several times a week with you guys is just it's the bee's knees, as Pepperidge Farm remembered. It's pretty fun. But anyway, we're going to send it around for final thoughts, and let's start with as usual with Jenna.
Yeah. I have like 16. Well, no, like I hate saying like in the words and working on that. A bunch of things came to mind, such as how grateful I am to you guys for having my back while I've been going through all these health issues. And it was nice to be back and be treated like normal and not worried about you guys thinking I was just going to drop dead in the middle of the stream.
We're glad to have you back. And
I would only do that so we could get upgraded.
Willing to go the extra mile. It sounds like I certainly appreciate that, but we'd just as soon have you alive. Sora, what final words do you have for this evening?
Well, today's episode is 12:20, which means tomorrow's going to be 12:21, or also 1221, which is a palindrome. So that makes it extra special. Make sure you tune in to Sanguine's night tomorrow night.
That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Palindrome. I'm going to tell him that maybe he'll entitle his stream "A Man, a Plan, a Canal, Panama." That's the longest palindrome I know.
I remember what I wanted to say when I realized this. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Thank
the
you for
rare
reminding
entry.
me.
Yeah, Aaron Gabra.
All
Yay.
right. So, Sora,
Yes.
what do you think about all this?
Oh, which would you like
It-
opinions on?
the world in one word. In one word, how would you characterize the world?
Mm.
Now it's hard.
Vibrant.
Vibrant. Okay, could go with that. Very good.
That's a good choice, actually.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Prospero, final words.
Don't be so frit that you can't see reality for what it is. You can't. Life will pass you by if you try to play it safe. I don't mean throw caution to the wind, but risk aversity can really stifle a lot of things. It can stifle your personal relationships. It can stifle your employment opportunities. It certainly will stifle your joie de vivre, and it will stifle your mind eventually.
You're right. I think you're right.
You know, all fear and no play makes Jack a very annoying asshole.
I can't think of a finer benediction for tonight's stream. I want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to us. Thank you, chat, for being a part of this. And thanks to my panel for hanging with me. Jenna, Prospero, Sora, Harry, you guys are the very best. Thank you for staying with me this evening. I have a couple of quotes that I dug up pertaining to entrepreneurship. Mark Twain said the secret of getting ahead is getting started. I like that.
Yes.
And an unattributed quote that I liked also was success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. That is absolutely true. Then a quote that I really didn't like because I thought it was stupid comes from Oprah Winfrey, who said, "Don't worry about being successful, but work toward being significant, and the success will naturally follow."
Oh,
shit's
fuck off.
sake.
That's high school counselor bullshit.
That's sophistry. That's absolute crap from Oprah Winfrey. But the best one that I came up with was a thing from a guy, Roy Ash. I've never heard of him. I don't know who he is. He's probably a motivational speaker or something. Lives in a van down by the river. But anyway, the guy, he says that an entrepreneur tends to bite off a little more than he can chew, hoping he'll quickly learn how to chew it. And having been an entrepreneur and having taken on projects that I didn't know how to do, programming challenges that I didn't know how to do when I signed on the line, saying, yes, I can get this done by X date, and having no idea how I would do it. I know exactly how that is. But guys, thanks for coming out and being a part of this. I'll leave you with those words of wisdom. And the zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.